he decides who he wants to, nominate or who he wants to allow to occupy the position of the Leader of the House.
Well, we are also joined now by Mr. A.K. Bhattacharya, Editor of Business Standard, and Rajdeep Sardesai, Editor-in-Chief of CNN IB. And Rajdeep, AKB, thank you so much for joining us. Rajdeep, CNN IB is reporting that May 26th is the day that Mr. Modi will be sworn in. Is that also the day that the rest of the cabinet will be sworn in, or could that be later?
No, I think there will be, it will be Mr. Modi along with at least a dozen ministers, cabinet level ministers, along with a few ministers of state. There could be a larger expansion then in a couple of days, but I do expect that 26 will not have just Mr. Modi. It will be a wider cabinet expansion. So it won't be just the Prime Minister who's sworn in. There have been reports that 24th was the preferred day because it is a auspicious day, Ekadashi, but maybe because of time they are pushing it forward to 26th. Two dates have been doing the rounds, 24th and 26th. But whichever date is eventually chosen, I do believe it will not just be the Prime Minister, but it will be his core team of ministers as well, Senthil.
Thanks, Rajdeep. AKB, we've all been debating who the Finance Minister is. We're getting closer and closer. We've been reporting it's possibly Mr. Jaitley or Mr. Arun Shourie. What are you hearing, and how important is that name going to be?
Well, it's obviously in any government, the Finance Minister's name is very important, particularly in the current state of the economy is in. We believe that it will more probably the choice will fall on Arun Jaitley. The tasks will obviously be very onerous for whoever becomes the new finance minister of this government.
Rajdeep, will it be Arun Jaitley? Is that what you're picking up as well? Because it's been constantly shifting. I know several people have also pointed out to Mr. Shourie being, very close to the current dispensation in the BJP. So,
look, I think it is generally believed that Mr. Jaitley has a better chance than Arun Shourie, quite simply because, there is a tendency not to bring in someone from the outside. I know there was the Manmohan Singh example which is given, but in general that is avoided. By and large, governments tend to give someone who is already within the parliament. Mr. Shourie would be an extremely good choice according to many in industry, I'm sure. But within the BJP, he attracts very strong views on either side. So whether they will actually be willing to give Mr. Shourie, there's a question mark. Maybe more likely to be some kind of an advisor. There's also the Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission, where Yashwant Sinha's name is doing the rounds as a front runner. Arun Jaitley, MEA or Finance are the two portfolios being mentioned. So I think it's a tough call then. Having lost that election, I think if he'd won the election, then I would have said almost certainly he'd be finance minister. Having lost that election, will he still be finance minister? I think if there is voices against Mr. Jaitley, they're raising it in that context. Having lost the election, do you give him the top, the top 3 or top 4 portfolios, or do you accommodate him in some other manner? My sense is that Jaitley will get either MEA or finance. As Mr. Bhattacharya says, most likely finance. But, with Narendra Modi, you never know. A lot of this is kite flying. Kite flying, great sport in Gujarat, and it's now being practiced in Delhi. No one really knows. But,
I think
all this is kite flying.
No, but to both of you, one of the things we were discussing internally was, what are the chances, and I know this sounds odd, but what are the chances that Mr. Modi will keep the finance portfolio with him for, let's say, a year or so, saying that, look, the economy deserves my immediate attention, most of it, so I'm going to keep the finance portfolio till I've done, at least put in motion some of the key things I want to do before handing it over to somebody else. Is there any chance of that happening whatsoever?
Menka, finance is not an easy portfolio.
Of course, I get that.
Let's be clear. And much as I know you are among those who believe that Narendra Modi is some kind of a magician who can move from, chief minister to finance minister and possibly any portfolio in a moment, and, less government, more governance. All this is all very fine. It requires budget making is not easy. And the finance minister, I think, will have to be someone 24/7, Menka. It will have to be someone who's there in the next 6 months. It's his big challenge. Therefore, I think what we can say that Modi will need someone whom he implicitly trusts in that portfolio and someone who he reposes full confidence in. I think the two portfolios that Narendra Modi will want people who he can have full confidence in, one is home and the other is finance. My bet actually at one level was that if he really wanted a portfolio to keep, it was home, or at least take out internal security out of home and give it really to someone who is a true loyalist if Rajnath Singh is to get home. Because I think there are concerns there that Mr. Modi would like to have a close look at that portfolio. But I don't believe Narendra Modi will be the finance minister of the country. But who knows? I could be proved wrong in a week from now and you'll say I told you so. But I do believe that you need a 24/7 finance minister. And I do believe Mr. Modi will look for some. There's also been this talk of a technocrat being brought in. Various names have done the rounds, from a Deepak Parekh to a KV Kamath. We hear all kinds of new names being floated every day. But I think Modi will stick to a politician. That's my sense. He will have a strong bureaucrat supporting them, but I think we will eventually see a politician in the finance ministry.
Okay, well, Mr. Rajnath Singh has confirmed the news that CNN broke a little while ago, that May 26th is indeed the day that Mr. Modi will take oath of office as Prime Minister. AKB, I saw you shaking your head in agreement with Rajdeep. Unlikely that he will keep the post to himself. What are the chances of Mr. Modi wanting a technocrat in as the finance minister? Would you prefer a politician to push through things like GST? You've been observing governments long enough to answer that.
First, whether Mr. Modi would keep the finance portfolio with himself or not, it is not that in the past Prime Ministers haven't kept the finance portfolio to themselves. You have got Jawaharlal Nehru, you have got Indira Gandhi, you have got Rajiv Gandhi, who not only kept the finance portfolio for some months, but even presented budgets. So it is not unthinkable that the Prime Minister cannot keep the finance portfolio. But the truth be told, for Mr. Modi to keep the finance portfolio to himself without having an able deputy, a kind of a technocrat, as somebody kind of a council, chairman of economic council or something like that, it will be very, very difficult, because today's challenges before the economy are very complex, very daunting, and I don't think Mr. Modi should keep the finance portfolio to himself, rather give it to a politician who can actually manage the tasks of the economy, the challenges before the economy, as a full-time 24/7 kind of a finance minister. So I think it's good for the economy and the government if Mr. Modi relies on a politician as a finance minister, because technocrats, as Mr. Sardesai said, will find his own problems, even whether it's Mr. KV Kamath or Deepak Parekh, or some people say even Arvind Panagaria. They will have their own battles to fight and win over before they can actually make their impact felt. So it will be a better bet for the government to have a politician who already knows administration, and in this case, I would prefer Arun Jaitley to Arun Shourie, because Arun Shourie has many supporters as well as detractors, where Arun Jaitley has got a larger number of people who would root for him, and therefore I would imagine that Arun Jaitley would be a preferred choice.